welcome to First and Filoni. My name is Donovan Filoni, and as always, joined with the man himself, Mr. Andrew Cooper. Coming off of a pretty busy week, guys. Week 3 actually turned out to be a pretty good week of games. There was a good game, I think, at each time slot. So let's go ahead and get back into it. A recap of week 3 here. There's a couple game of the weeks, and I wrote a couple of them down. But I'll go ahead and give you the floor for yours because I think we're probably going to have the same. I have 2 of them written down. So where do you want to start? You want to go to Boulder or you want to go to Missouri?
It doesn't matter. Either one of them were pretty good games.
Let's start with the Colorado State. 9.3 million viewers for that game at a 10 o'clock start time. That's pretty impressive to me. Pretty good back and forth. One thing that we gotta realize is rivalry games are the same no matter what stage of the game, and that 23-point spread was way too much for a rivalry game. Colorado State, I'll give them props. They came out hitting, even with that dirty hit by the Colorado State player. But as Dion said, as Travis Hunter said, stuff like that, it's football, man. He shouldn't be getting death threats. But I thought that was a really, really, really good game. Colorado's offense is great. Their defense kind of scares me. They do have some playmakers. But what really scares me is they got no offense and defensive line. So those are kind of just my takeaways from that. And then Travis Hunter being out 3 weeks from that late hit from the Colorado State guy. That scares me for this week for Oregon, man. That really scares me, not having the best player on the field.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that one. Man, he's just such a dynamic player on both sides of the ball and like a spark plug. So I think they're really going to be missing him, the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to watch that game? I know it was 10 o'clock Eastern, and I watched about half of it before I fell asleep.
I might have watched 15 minutes of it and I fell asleep. I can't stay up late like that no more.
Yeah. It was a tough one, man. But I think it was a good game. I think it kind of did show Colorado's weakness, though. Shador looked good as always. It's just they have no offense and defensive line. You come with a running team, you're going to get screwed. The second game of the week I had was Kansas State at Mizzou. Walker Howard was hurt, but he still played well. Kansas played well. That Trayvon Burton, the third, the wide receiver.
Yep.
He's a stud, man.
Yeah, he's got so much speed on the outside. You give him an inch of daylight, I mean, he's gone.
What are your thoughts on Cook, the quarterback? Because there was spots there where he looked really, really good, and then there's spots there that looked like he shouldn't even been on the field.
Yeah, I thought he looked good, but I think, when the pressure arose is kind of when he faltered. You know what I mean? I don't know
Yeah.
if he either got a little too ahead of himself or he was comfortable, then he got uncomfortable. I mean, I really don't know on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. It came down to, I mean, a 56-yard field goal, then the penalty of delay a game by a coach, like biggest misstep I think of the weekend. Then a 61-yard banger by Harrison Mevis. I thought it had everything that you needed for a good game there. But those were my 2 game of the weeks. I assume you had the same, right? Or did you have a different one?
I had Colorado State. It's so back and forth, especially with the overtime game. It's hard not to put that as a game of the week.
Yeah, and especially how Colorado had to come back with it too. I watched the highlights the next day, and I was shocked, man. But let's go ahead and get into the player of the week then for last week. I'll let you go first on this one. You had the floor because we have different ones, I believe.
Yeah, uh, I had 2, but I think the biggest one to me is Audric Estime. I mean, he had 20 carries for 176 yards. Dude,
Bowling ball.
I'm telling you, the offensive line, if the offensive line holds up like that this weekend, and I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man, he's just a bowling ball. I mean, he can
He's
read a hole, and I mean, he. It takes more than one defender to take him down, man. But still, you got 20 carries, 176 yards. Like I said, I know they won't play nobody great, but that's still pretty impressive. And the other one for me was Michael Penix Jr. I mean, 27 to 35, 473 yards, 4 touchdowns. I know they're playing Michigan State with everything Michigan State's got going on. I would have thought they would have came out there with a fire under their butt and played a little bit better. But man, week to week to week, he's improving to
He's
me with
thrown
his
400 yards
reads.
almost every single week or more, right?
I know, yeah, I know, man. So those are definitely my two. I mean, it just both of them continue to impress. Like I said, we talked about it before. There's really no dominant team to us in college football, but if there's two
No.
players that constantly are dominant, it's Audric Estime and Michael Penix Jr.
It seems like that. I mean, we can say Caleb Williams in that conversation as well, and I think we can say Shador Sanders too. I mean, but to be honest with you, I'm glad you said Michael Penix because I don't see how he's not in the Heisman conversation right now.
He ought to be top of the leaderboard, in my opinion.
He should be because of the way Washington plays, and like you just said, you kind of highlighted it, and I'll just kind of reiterate it. There's no dominant college football team. I think Georgia's second half made me more comfortable with their standing on the East, but Tennessee dropped a game in the swamp, although Florida looked really good on defense. South Carolina pushed Georgia to the limit. I mean, teams were just Bama struggled with USF, but I think that was because they suspended Jalen Milroe and he didn't play. Um, there's no real dominant team every single week except for Washington at this point. And it's because of Michael Penix Jr., who just does not miss right now. My player of the week was Harrison Mevis. Had to go for the brand on that one. Anytime a fat kicker kicks 61-yard field goal to win the game, I have to go with him, man. Like I do. I have to go with my
Oh yeah,
kickers, man. So, but yeah, I mean, and then just to hit on Estime as well. I mean, just imagine Estime if this is fantasy booking for you, but imagine Estime at NC State. Like, holy hell.
it'd be back to it'd be like the old Andre Brown days.
I could see you just buying a jersey of that boy because he's going to be running for 150 yards a game. Might give Brennan Armstrong something to pass to, but Dave Doran will start Houston over him.
Actually, new news today: Jordan Houston has left the program.
Oh, really?
Yep, he has decided that he's going to redshirt and graduate, but he's going to enter the transfer portal when that opens.
That's crazy, man.
Good riddance.
I've heard some rumors about some other players potentially entering the transfer portal already as well, which it brings it to me like I like it if it works out for the player and the team. Like Michael Penix from Indiana, he was dog shit at Indiana, and then he goes to Washington and is lighting it up. Bo Nix at Auburn to Oregon as well. But for the players that just keep bouncing around, I mean, I can think of Tate Martell, man. Like, I wish he would have just stayed and developed somewhere instead of bouncing around because he would have been a fun Johnny Manziel type player to watch.
Yep.
But we can talk about that during the offseason because I think transfer portal is going to be a fun little wrinkle, and then they're going to have to relegate or regulate it somehow. Winners of the week, man. Who do you got for winners of the week? Only got two of them.
I got three. I got Mizzou, Florida, and Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming sneaky is really good this year, man.
They're hanging in there with some tough teams, man. I think they lost, but either way, man,
They
they
did
still
lose to
continue to
Texas.
impress me.
They pushed
They
Texas.
still continue. They still continue to impress me week in, away, week out, man. They got
What
a
are your
hard schedule too.
What are your
So
thoughts on their all yellows, man?
that's pretty slick.
I kind of like them better than the Browns that they have as well. But yeah, I mean, that might be the G5 team to look out for this year. I would like to see them versus Tulane suited up. Like, let's see what happens. That might be a fun game to watch too. Yeah, I had Florida and Ohio State. Florida, I called it. It's just Joe Milton, dude. That's all that it is because Joe Milton chokes in the prime time. He chokes when the pressure is on. Tennessee, I think, has the better players right now, but Florida's defense stepped up. Graham Mertz looked in control of that offense. The two-headed running back monster with was it Jackson Jr. or Johnson Jr. and ETN? For Florida, that seems pretty unstoppable when they get going. And then I'm a big fan of number 21 on the defensive line, Watson, that 400-pound dude. When he gets going, man,
Yeah.
he takes up two people. And I'm like, I was telling my fiance, I was like, you need that. I just remember Casey Hampton of the old Steelers lines where he would just plug up 2-3 people in the middle every single time. Like, you need that.
Definitely a big boy.
To be successful. And then Ohio State. Western Kentucky is Western Kentucky, but they're not a bad team. And they put 63 on them with only allowing 10 points. Like, that was really, really impressive to me. That they actually looked like a complete team. They're going with Kyle McCord the rest of the season. There's no more question about it. Losers of the week. My first loser is Tennessee. I kind of said that already. It's Joe Milton. Like, I'm high on him. He has all the skill in the world. He's a perfect example where he has some of the most amazing raw talent there is out there, but he can't put it together. And then Colorado with Travis Hunter being out for 3 weeks, that scares me, man. Like, that really, really scares me for Dion because they got a tough 3 weeks coming up. But who are your losers of the week?
I had Tennessee and Bama.
So I question you about Bama. Is it just because of their offense? Because their defense looked good. They had the USF's quarterback got on a couple good scrambles, but that was really about
To
it.
me, it's to me, it's just the offense, man.
Yeah. They
It's
don't have
just so
anybody
wishy-washy.
flashing. Like, they have solid
Yeah,
players, it seems, but it's just nobody that's gonna. They don't have a Najee Harris. They don't have a Mark Ingram. They don't have a Henry Ruggs on the outside, or Jameson Williams, Julio
yeah.
Jones.
Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I can see that too, man. It's just crazy. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get into some game picks, man. We got a loaded slate and trying to get through these a little bit quicker for the people listening at home. We're recording a little bit late. It's been a busy week, I think, for both of us. More so for Mr. Cooper there, but I want to get him out so he can get to sleep or something. But just on the records here, last week you went 5-5 and I went 7-3. So I now am in the lead with 24-11. You're 23-12. Still a close race. My locks are 18-17. So they did a 5-5 week as well, which I'm fine with. But this week, man, we got a loaded schedule, it seems. And I didn't make it easy for us on picking, so this will probably be our weakest output here. Let's go ahead and start with what could potentially be the game of the week. Again at noon kickoff, FSU at Clemson. FSU, latest I saw was FSU -2.5. So it's basically a pick 'em there. What are your thoughts on this game? I'll let you go first. I have my pick in mind, but this one was very difficult for me to decide.
I mean, Florida State struggled, and we always know every Florida State team always has that one, maybe two losses in the
Right.
ACC every year. I think the home field advantage in this one's going to be a big factor, even though it is noon. I also think too, Klubnik and the offensive coordinator have finally gelled a little bit. The offense is moving a little bit from what I've been seeing. I
Yeah.
know they really haven't been playing, big teams outside of the Duke game, but I think Clemson gets back to its ACC foes, and I think they're going to upset FSU.
See, I think you're probably right on that. But what worries me is Klubnik still has not shown anything. The only playmaker they have is Will Shipley, and like I said before, he's a workhorse. He's not a playmaker. What scares me is that it's the first time Clemson's that hasn't been favored in an ACC game, I think, in like 5-10 years or something like that at home. Now, if it was a night game, I'd pick Clemson, but I'm going with FSU here. I think FSU had the case of looking forward against Boston College. It's going to be a shootout. I don't see defenses. That's the only way Clemson's going to win because they can't. I don't think Clemson has the defensive backs to stay with the receivers of Florida State. And if Florida State wins this game, they have to be top three. I think. I think their resume puts them in the top three of the national conversation. So I'm going FSU. You're going Clemson. I I don't have a gut feeling one way or the other. I struggled with that pick. Um, I do want to branch off on a little bit of a tangent here for that game though. Not that game, but why isn't Duke getting the respect they should be getting after they beat the Clemsons? Like, because we're saying it's still FSU, Clemson, Miami, and then we're saying like maybe UNC, Pitt, and then Duke, like the Duke NC State. Why are they so low? Why is Duke still so low after the
It's the
showing?
same. It's just the same with the top 25 rankings every year when they come out in preseason. It's the same teams.
Yeah, I just
That's
think
all
Duke
it
should be
is.
getting more
They're
respect.
waiting. I do as well, but it's going to take another huge win
Right.
for them to finally get their respect, which is I don't think is right. But
Yeah, I think Duke is so solid for what they have. Mike Elko's gone after this season. Like he's the biggest name outside of Dion in college football. So I just wanted to get your brief thoughts on that because I just somebody proposed that the other day to me and I was like, I don't know. I have respect for Duke. I don't think they're not gonna win, but next game we have is Auburn at Texas A&M, which Texas A&M's favored by 7.5. Um, this one confused me because the spread is so low. I picked Texas A&M. I trust Connor Wegman over Peyton Thorne, but Auburn seems to be on the way up with the way they've been playing.
yeah, I've got Texas A&M. I think the Kyle Field with the home field advantage and Auburn really not playing, a tough talent yet. You got to remember too, man, they're also really young with that. Um, I don't know. It's kind of a no-brainer with me. I'm not a big fan of Jimbo, but I think he gets the best of Hugh Freeze this week.
This is the type of game that Jimbo loses, though. Like we could be coming back and having our foot completely down our mouth
He
about
already,
running by 10.
I mean, it could be. That's why they play the game.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. So the next one I think was a game that I've been running my mouth about for 4 weeks now, and I'm scared to put my money where my mouth is. Colorado at Oregon. Oregon is favored by 21 points. It was at 23.5 earlier in the week, but it's gone down to 21. Um, do you trust Bo Nix?
Yep. Playing at home, man. That and Travis Hunter is out. I think that's your big thing with that. I mean, I just like I said, Oregon, the defense is there or it ain't, but
Yeah.
with
Well,
it
Dan
being a
Lanning is
home
going to keep
game
that
in
defense humming.
Eugene, yeah. So he's got the defensive roots anyway from Georgia. So I got to go with Oregon on this one.
I doubted Dion once with the 21-point spread. I want to doubt him again, but I'm not going to. I have to go with Colorado. I told you I wasn't picking against Dion until they lose. I just think last week was not the real Colorado team because of the one rivalry week and two they got in their heads with everybody being there. And if I know Dion and the coaching staff that he put in there, these boys had hell this week because of all that factors. So I think I'm picking Colorado. I think Oregon really is going to win, but I think it's going to be closer than 21.
Yeah, I was gonna say no more than 2 touchdowns, maybe a touchdown and a field goal.
Yeah, I mean I could be wrong, and because Oregon, I just don't know Oregon lately. Like lately they're good, but they always lose that one or two games, and it's the Pac-12 where I think Pac-12 is going to cannibalize each other, and this could be an upset game. But okay, next game, UCLA at Utah, another Pac-12 game. Utah's favored by 4.5. Sneaky good game. UCLA is rolling through people quietly. It's one of the quietest Chip Kelly teams I've ever seen. Last year, UCLA came in, or Utah went into UCLA, and UCLA beat the brakes off of them. I'm going Utah solely because it's at Utah. If it was at UCLA, I think I'd probably pick them.
I got Utah only because it's at Utah,
Yep.
and the home field advantage for Utah is always so good. Once again, man, UCLA, I know they're flying under the radar, but I just don't think they played like a Florida or somebody to really.
More their
I guess
quarterback,
we'll
that
just have to.
freshman, he's
Yeah.
good. He's good.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. Like the stats aren't really lining up because UCLA has more of the stats, but I think it's just gonna be hard to beat Utah and Utah.
And I think Cam Rising is back this week. I think.
That'll be good.
So even if they have a shell of Cam Rising, that freshman that they have, what's his name? Johnson, Nate Johnson. Is that his name?
Yeah, I believe so.
He's so fast. I'm excited to see him going forward. I really am. Um, he kind of reminds me of like Dennis Dixon from the old Oregon teams, man. Like he
Yeah,
just you remember him, how fast he was?
yeah.
Like Michael Vick, Marcus Vick, like all them, like fast as can be. Next game, Old Miss at Alabama. Alabama has been getting so much criticism lately. It's at Tuscaloosa. Bama is 7-point favorites. I'm not doubting Nick Saban. I think last week was a Nick Saban game to not play Milrow because he knew what Milrow was and what he is. And he wanted to see if he had a better option, but Simpson and Buckner just did not look good. Milrow's back. I think they're gonna run it down Ole Miss throat. I'm picking Bama. I want to pick Ole Miss because I like Lane Kiffin, but I'm picking Bama on this one.
This is a tough one for me.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I don't know. This is a tough one. I mean, Milrow.
Saban's down, man, but
Uh,
you don't want to pick against him because as soon as you pick against him, he's gonna put up a 50 burger on you.
yeah, no. But something about Ole Miss's offense, I think.
You got Ole Miss?
I don't know. The thing that scares me though is man, Ole Miss's defense.
Yeah,
You
because
know
they're
what I
good
mean?
in the past, but they haven't been tested on the run yet.
Is that a night game or
I
three
think it's a
thirty?
3:30 game. I just as much crap has been talked about Alabama this week that Nick Saban's going in there and lighting a fire under the boys' butts. It's 3:30 on
Yeah,
CBS.
give me Bama on that.
It's down to six and a
Yeah, give me
half.
Bama.
Bama.
I had Ole Miss, but something's telling me to go Bama because I don't think Saban's losing twice in Tuscaloosa.
Well, you can change it by the end of the show, so I'll give you that, man. Because I think I did it last week or 2 weeks ago. So,
I think I'm gonna go with Bama on that one.
yeah, I have to doubt Saban, but I do want to say if Lane Kiffin does win, he gets the Bama job when Nick retires for sure.
Oh yeah.
Next one I think might be one of the sneaky games of the week. BYU at Kansas. Kansas is favored by 8.5. I just like what Kansas does, man. I know BYU came back and beat Arkansas, but I'm not high on Arkansas this year. And I love Daniels at Kansas. I love what Luke Leipold's doing. Give me the Jayhawks, man.
I think I'm gonna take BYU in this one.
Just a gut feeling.
Yeah, I think they played a really good game last week in a
Oh,
hostile
they did.
environment, and I think they continue it this week. So
That's what scares me because they went into an SEC school that has some rowdy fans and beat them. But I think that'll be a fun game to watch as well. Next one we have Arkansas at LSU. LSU is favored by 17.5. I think this is a bigger spread than what it should be as well. Do you think LSU is riding high after beating the brakes off of Mississippi State? And man, did I miss on that one last week. Beating the brakes off of Mississippi State and gonna overlook Arkansas for next week. I think they have Ole Miss. Or do you think LSU
uh,
rolls?
I think LSU's want to continue it, man.
I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to have the game that he had last week at 80% completion. I think Arkansas keeps it a 10-point game, but I agree. I think LSU wins this. Um, Next game, another Pac-12. I think this might be the year that we had the most Pac-12 games to pick through that we're actually interested in. And of course, it's their last year, right? Oregon State at Washington State. Washington State sneaky good, man. Um, Oregon State's favored by 3. You got Ward or DJ?
I think I'm gonna go Ward in this one. I think that home game, Washington State looks really good.
Yeah, they
They're under the radar, which is another thing that I really like. They're not getting hyped up, so I think they're gonna make a statement with this one. So I'm gonna pick Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State's flying under the radar, man. I mean, they beat Wisconsin. I don't think Wisconsin is as good as I thought they were this year. But I think that's more of a Tanner Mordecai versus anything else. Um, I got to stick with my boy DJ, man. He just looks so much better at Oregon State. I love Martinez, their running back. I think DJ is benefiting from maybe not a bigger team and kind of just playing fast and loose with it. I like Oregon State in this one, but that one might be a fun. That one's gonna be a fun one to watch as well. Okay, 2 more games, man. And there are 3 Big Ten teams and 1 independent. So we'll go Iowa at Penn State. Iowa put up 41 points last week and put my foot in my mouth. Ferentz is on the pace to hit his goal of 28 points a game now after that 41-point game. Penn State, they played a good game against Illinois, but Illinois always plays them hard. They won by more than 14 last week, but Penn State's favored by 15 this week. It is the whiteout game. Whiteout game at 7:00. I'm sticking with Penn State. Drew Aller, whiteout. Its stars are aligning. I think they run for 200 yards. I think they pass for 200 yards, and whiteout just gets it done, man.
Yeah, I have Penn State as well. It's hard to go against them with that whiteout game, man.
I'm kind of disappointed they're using it on Iowa, but that's another conversation.
Oh yeah.
And then the game of the week where game day's at this week. I think it's the top 10 matchups, number 6 versus number 9 or something like that. Ohio State at Notre Dame. Ohio State's favored by 3 points. They are wearing the all greens, which really scares me because they don't have success wearing all greens. Do you have faith in Sam Hartman, or are you going to go with Ohio State, who might be one of the most flying under the radar Ohio State teams we've seen in the last 20 years?
I'm gonna stick with Sam Hartman and the Irish on this one, man. Sam looks good, man. He's got offensive line. He's got some running backs to help him out. And the defense is playing some really good ball.
Yeah,
Someone's just telling me to stick with Notre Dame. It's kind of hard for me to go against that because I'm staying Notre Dame. I'm not flip flopping.
I think so as well. I think it's a Marcus Williams revenge game where Ohio State just let him go, basically. Not let him go, but like didn't try to stop him from leaving to go to Notre Dame to be the defensive coordinator.
Oh, you talking about Freeman?
Marcus Freeman. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, Marcus Freeman. I'm loving Marcus Freeman more and more. I love the hire. Like I haven't been this high on a Notre Dame team in forever. Sam Hartman, I think, puts his name on the map and solidifies him in the top 3 with the Heisman candidacy with a win here. I'm going Notre Dame as well. Like I said, just those green jerseys scare me. But this is the first time since Brady Quinn, Jimmy Clausen, that Notre Dame's had a good quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, Deshaun Kaiser was probably our best one, and he was awful. So I'm going Notre Dame as well. So we differ on 4 games this week, so it should be a pretty good week. Watch me just have a crappy week after last week. Some locks of the week. You just stop me whenever you need to stop me. I got 10 of them. NC State at UVA. NC State's favored by 9.5. I think they win by more than that. Ohio State, Notre Dame. I have Notre Dame +3 since I'm picking them outright. I also have the under 55.5. I think it turns into more of a defensive game than people think. People think it's going to be a shootout. I don't I don't think so. That one scares me though. Because of the offensive firepower with Estime and then Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I think that scares me. Oklahoma at Cincinnati, over 57 total points. I mean, Oklahoma's just bull rushing people. Like, they're just, and Cincy, I think, is dog shit. So I think Oklahoma might get that by themselves. Colorado at Oregon, over 70.5 points. That's a lot of points, but I don't trust either defense, I don't think. Maryland at Michigan State. Maryland's favored by 7.5. I have them winning by more than 7.5. Michigan State's just in shambles. By the way, before I continue with that, who do you think Michigan State's next head coach is going to be? Or who, if you were Michigan State AD, who would your first call be to? I think there's one, maybe
I
two.
would say Elko, man.
Yeah, it's Elko,
Elko.
right?
I would say Elko. I would think.
It's Elko. It might be Jonathan Smith at Oregon State, since they don't have a.
What about Dan Mullen?
Isn't he doing the analyst gig?
The
I don't.
analyst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, what worries about me with Dan Mullen is he's an SEC guy. I don't know if the Big Ten, if he would want to go to the Big Ten. But Michigan State will have the
Yeah.
funds. I think that's a fun conversation for us to maybe speculate next week. Kind of picking some coaches to maybe pick there. Okay. Getting back to it, BYU at Kansas, over 54.5. They don't have defenses, so they're going to score. Iowa at Penn State. Penn State's favored by 15. I think they win by more than that. I don't trust Iowa's offense, and Penn State has a good defense. Charlotte at Florida. I'm picking the over 49 points. I think Florida's favored by like 28, but I don't trust them to be favored by 28. I think they win by 50, or I think the total score is over 50 though. Rutgers at Michigan. This one I actually really, really like. Michigan's favored by 24 points. I think Rutgers keeps it within that 24. They've been looking good this year. They're 3-0, and they're not an awful team. But I don't trust Michigan, so whatever there. Okay. Upsets of the week, man. So the upset of the week we do every week. We try to pick an underdog of 5 to 7 or more points, and who could potentially be on the upset. I have 2 of them this week, but I'll let you have the floor on this one.
You can go ahead. I forgot to do this.
Oh, you're good. So my first upset is West Virginia at Texas Tech. West Virginia's sneakily been good. I think Neil Brown has saved his job, at least for the remainder of the year. Texas Tech is only favored by 6.5 points. We both were high on Texas Tech at the beginning of the year. But the backup quarterback came in and played well last week versus Pitt. So I think West Virginia could upset them at 6.5. I also have Boston College at Louisville. Boston College, they didn't look good, but they kept it close for Florida State, and they probably should have won that game. Louisville's favored by 13.5. I think Boston College could potentially upset Louisville here because I have not been impressed with Louisville at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say Pitt upsets North Carolina.
I think the only way that happens, it turns into a defensive battle, which Pitt has the defense to do it. I just don't know if their offense is. I don't know if their offense is there, man. They did not look good last week at all.
Well, that's really good.
Okay.
No.
And then the player of the week. We might have the same player of the week. Who do you got for this week?
I actually had Audric Estime.
So did I. I think Estime runs for 150, 200 in this game. I think that's why I think it's going to be under the 55.5. I think Notre Dame will take the ball, trust their defense, and run the piss out the ball. Sam Hartman, I think, will have 200, 300 yards, but I think Audric Estime just grounds and pounds it all freaking night.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that one.
All right, man. Well, that's the show for this week. Thank you guys for tuning in. We kind of ran through it pretty quickly. Pretty quick week this week, but that doesn't mean the games are going to be bad. I think this might be turn into one of the best weeks of the college football year. We have, I think, 6 top 10 matchups. I think we covered about 4 or 5 of them. So this is a great weekend to stay in and watch college football, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, everything like that. We're a small podcast, man, but we really enjoy doing it, and we really appreciate everybody who's winning. Following along with us, not winning. You see how tired we are later in the week, guys. Any last words for everybody, Andrew, before we head off here? Go NC State.
Nah, have fun and enjoy it. I ain't really getting my hopes up on that.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week, man, and enjoy this next weekend. It's going away too quickly. That's for sure.
Exactly right.